All right, good morning. We're back for the third episode of Go Do Something. We got a new setup. I feel like we actually got it down this time. Today we're talking about team building
Yep.
and networking.
Yeah.
How you feeling today?
A little tired. It's an early morning for me, but I'm feeling good. How are you, man?
I'm doing good too. I'm still geeking off the pre-workout. Had a breakfast.
Oh, you got a workout in this morning?
Dude, I was up at 5.
Oh, man, I wish, man. Gotta fix my sleep schedule before school. All right, well, let's just hop right into this first question. So, I'll pose it to you first. Why is team building important? Why do you think team building is important?
Oh, because none of us can fucking do this shit on our own. I mean, and I know we've talked about this before, like with you, when you first started your business, and it was the same with me. Like, when I first started music, I'm like, I'm gonna produce my songs, I'm gonna edit my music videos, I'm gonna do everything, I'm gonna just market it myself, all this different stuff. You can do that, but it is nowhere close to the most efficient way.
No.
And like what I've learned with team building is if I want to be the most successful that I can, I'm gonna let the people who are good at what they do what they're good at doing.
Right.
And I'm gonna do good at what I know how to do, which is write songs and perform.
Mm-hmm.
The other people, I just pay them money. They're good at it. So they're going to do that, and I'm just going to focus on me. In turn, there's more work that gets done.
I completely agree. You're able to leverage the strength of other people and focus on what you're good at. And so that makes the entire process a lot more efficient and a lot more effective. Because then when you have a narrow focus, you're going to be more... you're going to be better at doing what you're doing with just what you're focusing on. And so is everybody else. So I agree. That's basically the reason that team building is important, is because it allows everybody to focus on what they're good at, which increases your progress dramatically, makes your productivity go up.
Yeah.
So how do you think one should go about building a good team?
Networking.
Yeah, networking.
That's why we did them in the same one. Like, I mean, the biggest thing is that if you start creating content or creating traction anywhere, you're going to meet people. But even before that, you need to be involved in, like, if you're a musician, like, I need to go to shows and talk to people. Because, oh, you're a producer? Oh, I'm a rapper. We should do something. Online is great. Like, Gary Vee talks about this a lot. Like, DMs are a thing. Like, and you can literally go under hashtags and find millions and millions of accounts where people are like, I'm a producer, I'm a rapper, I do this, and reach out, And the other important thing is that, like, yeah, if you come across people who believe in what you're doing and want to help you out, that's great. But also, like, nothing in life is free. So when you build a team, you gotta understand that, like, this is a business for a lot of people, and, like, people need a way that they're gonna get theirs.
Yeah, there needs to be some type of reciprocation that's happening. Like, there's mutual benefit that's going on with you and the members of your team.
Right, and the best way to do that, if you don't have any money, is to provide value to them. So if I'm working with a producer who's just releasing, like, his and other artists' music, and I don't have any money to be like, oh, make me a beat, I'm just going to be like, hey, let me hop on one of your songs. I'll do, I'm a good rapper. Let me do a song for you. You can release it and promote it, and now you have content. And so I'm providing value to him, and then we're going to do that, and he's going to be like, oh, I like that, and maybe we're going to make a track together. Or at least I've established a relationship so that when I have money, I can go back to him. Be like, hey, like, I met you, we did this, can we do something now?
Yeah, doing a little bit for each other that helps develop the relationship over time, and then they can become sort of a member of your team who helps you create content or push out whatever you're trying to push out.
Yeah, and instead of just meeting people and being like, oh, make me a song. Because I see people do that all the time. Like, people hit me up, they'll be like, oh, can I send you a song where you feature on it? And I'm like, well, like, if you have 100 followers, like, you have nothing to offer me. And it's not that you're not a good artist, you're not good at what you're doing, but And I don't want to ever be too grand or like too big to work with anyone. Like that would be a losing fucking mindset. But I need to be provided with value
Yeah, I
for
think
me to want
a
to do
good way
something.
to go about that would be like, let's say they have graphic design skills. What if they could design like a dope ass logo for you, or some type of poster that you can use to promote an upcoming concert? They're like, hey man, you know, I made this for you. Like, you know, I'm a fan of your music. I would love if you would join me on one of my own songs.
Yeah.
You might be a lot more open to it because they provided value up front.
Yeah, and dude, I've done that before with people who shoot videos. Like the video for Perspective, one of my most early songs. That kid I know from high school, and he was like, I want to shoot a music video. And I'm like, okay, let's shoot one. You're going to shoot it and edit it for free. And if we dig it and we dig working together, then the next one we're going to have a payment. And that's the way to go about it. And I meet other people who like are photographers. And I'm like, cool, how about you do a photo shoot for free? Unless they're already established in their business. If they're not already established, do one for free. We'll meet each other, we'll see how we like each other, and if it works out, then you'll start getting paid.
Yeah, you gotta give first.
Yeah.
before you can take. I think that one of the crucial steps that you kind of just skipped over, but you alluded to in team building, is figuring out who you're looking for. So you kind of implied that by saying, you know, producers or photographers, but first you got to identify, like especially if you're starting a business, what you need.
Yeah.
So that involves self-awareness of understanding what you're not so good at. So like,
right.
For example, with Better Connects, the social network I'm working on, I mean, talked about this in another podcast as well. As like I could code, I could learn how to do it, but instead of doing that, might as well bring on somebody else who's gone to school for that for 4 years and has tons of experience in it. Like they'll do a whole lot of a better job than me. And so one of the first things I did when looking to build my team for Better Connects is I was on the lookout, you know, on the prowl for some for some software devs, right?
Yeah.
And then I came across a guy who wasn't a software dev, but he claimed to know, and he seemed to be a really good, like natural kind of networking kind of guy. So I brought him on as my business partner, and then he introduced me to who's now my CTO. And then they introduced me to our lead developer, and then our guy who does marketing and UI UX. So, like, being open to other areas of expertise that you don't have, and just being able to acknowledge that you're not so good at what you need, and then finding the people who are good at it. That's how you start. That's how you first go about building a team.
Yeah. No, and I think that's like a really good point, because that's like another thing. I'm like a fucking Gary Vee fangirl, like every other fucking kid our age trying to run a business or a brand. But like that's another thing that you hear him talk about, and people like him talk about, is self-awareness. You gotta know what you're good at, and you gotta know what you suck at.
Yeah.
Because neither one is everything. Like you have a strength and you have a weakness, and whatever the weakness is, stop doing it and pay somebody to do it. They can do it better, it will be more efficient. It's the same thing with sound engineering. I could sit here for 2 months on my computer and learn how to produce, or I could go to work where I make $150 in tips a day and give a third of that to Dom and be like, hey, mix the song for me. Now somebody else is making money, I've established a connection, and I have more time to write and perform and plan out shows.
Yeah, it frees up time for you to focus on what you're good at, and honestly probably what you enjoy doing. More.
Yeah.
Like you probably enjoy doing that more than you do the sound engineering.
Oh yeah. If there's any producers watching this, fuck sound engineering. I hate that shit. It's cool, but I'm lost.
I think that another important part of building a team, especially if it's for a business, is you got to ensure that the members of your team sort of align with the purpose that you see for your company or for your brand. Because if they don't, there's going to be conflicting interests, and that'll undermine productivity, and it's just not going to work out. So you got to be careful. I'm lucky because the teams that I have, like, somehow, some way, they're so perfect. They understand it. They understand everything the vision that I have for the companies that I'm trying to build.
Right.
So it's really great that I've been able to bring these people on who do align with my brands, and I think that's very important for other people is to sort of vet them. Like, they first have to have a skill that you lack or that you want to replace so that you can focus on what you're really good at.
Right.
and then B, align with you and align with your brand. I think that alignment is probably the more important one. Vet who aligns with you, and then find those who align with you and have a skill that you're looking for.
Right, and that's part of like kind of what I was talking about with like video shoots or photo shoots, where I'm like, let's meet up and get to know each other. Like, yeah, we're gonna create some content, but like especially if it's somebody through a DM, I don't know who you are. Like, I have no idea who you are. So let's meet up, like we'll create some content, but I want to hear about your goals. Where are you trying to take your business and your brand, and what type of person are you, and like, do we get along enough to then like start some kind of project?
Yeah.
You know, and like, I haven't come across anyone that I've met up with and been like, damn, like I fucking hate this guy, you know, like, but I have come across people that like I enjoy more. Like, I've made like a couple different videos with different people, and Joseph, the guy that I work with now, like, I love working with him. Like, he understands like creatively like what I want to do. Like, we get along, we have a good time, but we're also productive. Like, everything in that relationship works for me. So, okay, cool. Now I don't need to shop for videographers anymore. I got a guy.
Yeah, you got a guy. You can keep him, and it could be consistent. And that's also a really good thing is, yeah, with the team, it goes back to the first question, why is building a team important? Rather than just contracting work out to different people all the time, you get some consistency of quality in the work that you do, and then you develop a relationship with those people. So it's like, it just all works more smoothly.
Yeah.
You get an understanding of each other and how you both work, and that allows you to work more effectively.
Hell yeah.
All right, so the third question here is, how should you structure / manage your team?
Damn, however you want. But I think like, I think this like goes back a little bit to like the understanding that they are people with probably businesses too.
Or personal lives.
Yeah, with personal lives, you know, like that just because, you know, like I think we should shoot it on this day, I gotta understand that like this is a guy or this is a girl who's like got their own stuff going on. I need to work around that, you know, just because like I'm running the brand. Like, this is another thing you hear with fucking like people big in business. I work for the people that make my stuff. They do not work for me. You know, like if somebody's offering a skill to me, I work for them. I work around what they're doing with their business, and I'm like, okay, when can we do it? You know, like how can I fit myself into your schedule, and valuing what they're doing rather than being like, you have a skill that I want, come here and do it, bitch.
Yeah.
You know, like understanding that everything that they have going on is theirs, and then valuing them as a business person, as a friend. And that's going to help with establishing the relationship, because now I see eye to eye with them. I'm not like, hey, make me this. Like, there's been plenty of people, almost everyone I've ever worked with, where like we've been working on something and something personal has come up in their life, and they're like, fuck, I can't get the video done, or like the mix is going to take longer. And I'm not over here like calling up Getty, like grilling him. I'm not like, hey, where the fuck is my song? You know, like, I'm like, I get it, dude. Like, take your time. Like, we're going to finish it when we can finish it. And when you show that kind of like empathy and sympathy to the people that you work with, that connection gets even better.
Yeah, I think that I agree with everything you just said, but there's also, you do have to establish sort of expectations. Just ground level expectation, because like if somebody is constantly flaking or not sort of following through with what they've promised, like that's going to be a problem, right?
Right.
And it could be that that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It could also be because you didn't establish the right expectations to begin with, so they don't even know exactly what performance standards to meet.
Right.
So there's a saying in leadership that it's not about what you preach, it's what you tolerate. And so when you have a team, if when somebody doesn't come through and they kind of have a shitty excuse, like since we're naturally conflict avoidant, it might seem easier just to be like, oh, it's okay, man, it's okay. But if you continually do that, that's the new standard. That's the standard that you set. So now your team is going to be inconsistent, and
right.
that's it's going to follow throughout the other areas of your organization if they're,
Right.
if they're somewhat connected. So it's important that you do sort of have a firm grasp over your team as well, not to be too totalitarian, right?
Yeah.
So like, don't be a dick, but also don't be a pushover when it comes to like meeting deadlines and getting work done.
Yeah.
Because if you don't set those standards, they'll be consistently broken.
And I think that like a lot of this goes back to what your relationship looks like with them. Because what I've had like a lot of people ask me, like producers or videographers or photographers, they've been like, when do you need this by? Like up front about it. When is the like last date that you can take this by? And I think that's partially to do with the person, like if they're a respectable, like straightforward type of person, they're probably going to do that. But that's also because they have a mutual respect for me. I respect them and their craft and what they do. So the last thing they want to do is disrespect and bullshit my stuff. Now there is manipulative people who are just going to take and give you bullshit back. But for the most part, if you give good to somebody who's at least somewhat decent, you're going to get it back.
Yeah, but I think that like sometimes there's people who have a really great skill. Like let's say you have a videographer who, when he makes a video, it's absolutely perfect in every single way. Great videographer, but he's really not very punctual. So sometimes he'll show up late, doesn't come on time, and like that. And that if that starts to really affect other areas of your work, I think that at that point, like you need to have the ability to sort of set expectations. Be like, bro, you do a great job, and I love all your work, but like we have this problem.
Yeah.
And we need to address it. So having that ability, I think, is important. Yeah, bringing on people who have that mutual, like he might respect you, but that just might be a weakness of his.
Right.
He just might not be punctual anywhere.
So
So like, some people just have those weaknesses, and everybody has, their flaws.
Right.
And so you kind of just have to take them as they come, and try to manage it so that you can keep them on for their strengths, and then mitigate the negative impact of their downsides on the rest of your organization.
Yeah, and communication. That's what like I really like heard you just touch on. It's like being able to have conversations with people that you're in business with. Hey, like I think we should do this, or I think you could do this better, or could you do this for me? Like literally before we this was all subconscious, and I'm just reflecting on it now. But before we even started the podcast, I'm like, well, they're like hour-long episodes. You watch them anyways. Why don't you just take down the timestamps?
Yeah.
Cool, done.
Yeah.
Because there's communication. Like I'm not sitting over here like, damn, like, am I asking too much, or is it, like I'm just like, hey, like, can you do this? Yeah, sure. And problem solved. Whereas like if you don't have a line of communication,
right,
you're fucked.
Right.
Business, romantic, any relationship that you have, if there's no line of communication.
Well, any relationship, it's predicated on communication.
Right.
It's the whole relationship. There's no relationship if there's no communication. Like, by definition, there's no relationship, because there's no interaction happening. So, if you're not communicating with somebody, you're not in any kind of relationship with them.
Right.
There's a guy over there. I've never communicated with him in my life. Therefore, I have no relation to him. So yeah, almost the entire relationship is based on how well you can communicate with that person,
Right.
and what level of understanding you and them can share with each other regarding each other.
Right.
So, all right. Last question in their team building is, how can you motivate your team?
Oh, by being motivated yourself, bro.
Absolutely.
This goes back to what we were saying before, or what I was saying about working for your team. If you're a fucking slack off, nobody working for you is gonna come into work, I'm motivated. Like,
you as a leader, you set the standard for everybody else.
Yeah.
They're gonna follow suit with you. So if you come in with low energy and you're not motivated and you're pessimistic and you're overly critical, your team's gonna do the same thing. They're gonna fall right into line. There's no such thing as bad teams. There's only bad leaders.
Yeah.
There's an example in a book I read by a Navy SEAL, and he was talking about there's boat crews in BUDS, which is like the Navy SEAL training, and there were these two boat crews. One of them was consistently getting last place in like the races they were doing, and then one of them was consistently getting first place. And the leader of the last place team was like, it's my team. Like, they're slacking, they're lacking. Like, I can't do well with my team. And so the instructors were like, okay, switch teams then. So they put the leader of the bottom boat crew, the one that was getting last place, and they put him with the team of the top boat crew, the team that was getting first place. So they switched leaders. The next race, what do you think happened?
The team with the better leader probably kicked ass.
The team with the better leader got first place. The same team that had been consistently getting last place with the better leader from the other boat crew beat everybody else. And then the other team that had the good team, the good team with the bad leader, they got second place. They didn't do poorly. But what it goes to show is that a good leader can dramatically increase the productivity and effectiveness of any team.
Right.
So yeah, there's no such thing as bad teams, only bad leaders.
Yeah, and I think that like you were saying, you set the standard. Whatever your brand or business is, you set the standard, you set the message, and everyone else is there to contribute in. So if your standard is being late or slacking or like not getting shit done, who is gonna come into an environment full of laziness, slacking off, and like not being on time and be motivated? That like it's just, and even if you're a motivated person, that's gonna eventually get to you, because you're eventually just gonna be like how you, it's like when people talk about like, oh, you are your 5 friends. Yeah. You know, like your environment affects you so much that if that's your work environment, it's eventually going to seep into your life. And it doesn't mean you're like going to become this terribly lazy person and like it's going to change your entire existence, but you won't be able to work to your best standard in an environment like that. So if I want the people who are working on my content, who are creating my content, who are helping me to do their best job, then I need to come in and do my best job too.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the same thing. I'm starting to realize that like I feel like this is a lot just about the relationship, because that also contributes right back to the relationship. Oh, like this is a person who's motivated, who's driven, who's determined, and the relationship that I have with them is built on determination and motivation and hard work. And so I'm going to show up as the same person that this person is showing up for me, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about how you are managing your team. All comes down to how you are and your relationship with them and what it's predicated on and what you have in common with them, like the common interests that you have together, if you're both ambitious, and having that sort of culture throughout the entire team, which is what I was talking about a little bit with. They have to align with you. So bringing on, if you're somebody who's hyper motivated, bringing on a bunch of people who aren't is going to be like you'll probably increase their motivation just by being hyper motivated as a leader, but you're going to want to bring on people who are also similar to you culturally. Then again, you also want some diversity. So there needs to be a fine line of having a homogenous team with also a culturally diverse team. And when I mean culturally diverse, I just mean it like doesn't necessarily have to mean ethnically diverse. It's just in how they think and operate and the experiences that they've had.
Because they're going to bring different things to the table.
Different perspective, different insight. That's one of the biggest values I've gotten out of my team so far is they come with unique perspectives and insight. Based on their own personal experiences and understanding of the world, they can come bring a unique understanding of what I'm doing and add value to it that I never could.
Right. Dude, and that's why I started this. Because, like, my brand and your brand are very different, like, in different fields. Like, the messages are different. But, especially the weed one.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing that I have in common is the ambition and the drive to run a brand or run a business. And that's why these conversations are so interesting. Because you're talking about a business and a brand and a tea company or a weed company or the social networking, like software development. Like, I don't know shit about that, you know? But you're an ambitious and driven person. And that's the similarity. So now we can have an intensely, like, amazing and diverse conversation just because we have that one similarity.
I think that we also have in common our willingness to learn, a willingness to try and fail. You know, I think that that's also very important.
Yeah.
That's what I found with my other people that I have, you know, in business with as well, or partners with, is we're all willing to learn, all willing to you know, put ourselves out there and try. And if we fail, then we learn a lesson and we move forward, and we just continue down that process, being driven, wanting something more, that ambition that you were talking about.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we can move on to networking. So, what is networking and why is it important? We probably touched on it like through what we were talking about earlier. But
just meeting people. Just meeting people who, like, I mean, all the stuff that comes with, like, who you're looking for when you team build goes the same with the people that you want to meet when you're networking. But just meeting people. Just meeting people who do the same thing or do slightly different things, who you can relate to, who maybe have something for you, who you have something for. People who are relatively on the same life path. You network, you learn, you get opportunities. It's like the fucking super cliche saying, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You know, like, if you know people, then you have the ability to learn and grow.
Yeah, like, probably my the team that I have for Better Connects now purely got through networking. Met somebody in my class, they knew somebody, then they knew somebody. So it's like, we just all got together through people that we knew.
Right.
And building relationships with people is all that networking is. It's just building, which is the same thing as sales too. Sales is all about building relationships and mutual exchange of value. That's what networking is. Just going around providing value to other people, they'll reciprocate. That's what friendships are based on, is reciprocal altruism.
Yeah.
It's how friendships evolved. So.
Yeah, no, simple. Make friends. Make friends who are doing the same shit as you.
Yeah.
And you'll get opportunity.
You can bring something, but also I think another important part of networking is not to ignore the people who don't have anything to bring to you, because they might actually. Yeah. They might know somebody else who has something to bring to you. And so I think it's important that you try to provide value to everybody, regardless of your initial assessment of what they can bring to the table for you.
Oh, dude, that's something I've fucking learned many times over, is that everyone has something to teach me. Mm-hmm. Now, like, I'm gonna give you the time of day, like, to, like, tell me about what you're doing, or show me something, or, like, even just have a friendly conversation with me. But, like, if you're a head ass and you waste my fucking time, then, like, you know, like, your opportunity is gone. Like, and it doesn't mean, like, every time I meet somebody, I'm like, have it down. But, like, I'm gonna give everyone the time of day, you know, to, like, try to teach me something and, like, you know, hopefully help me learn and grow. But if, like, you're just a bullshitter and I can figure that out after our, like, third or fourth conversation, like, I'm gonna move on to somebody who I think has more value in my life.
Yeah, so there's a few types of people. There's the types of people who will proactively bring you down and hold you back. Then there's people who are just kind of neutral, and so they're like, they don't really have much to offer, but they're also not taking from you or making things any worse. And then there's people who are willing to step up and provide value to you. And so I think that it is okay to sort of discount those who are holding you back, bringing you down. It's unlikely that they're going to change, and they're probably going to just continually hold you back and bring you down. So, and there's plenty of people, so better to just move on from them.
Right.
But when it comes to those who are the neutral ones, who you can't identify what value they bring right now, I think it's still good to establish a type of relationship with them, because they might know somebody else who will, or maybe in the future they could. So, like, one thing that I've been thinking about, haven't really had the opportunity to do it, but I want to improve my networking ability, is to start trying to listen to other people just a little bit more, to understand what their interests are, what their wants are, what their desires are. And if I can't provide the value directly, to try to think of other people who I know that I could connect them with. Right. That way, I do establish some type of relationship with them, even if I'm not the one directly providing value. I could be sort of like a middleman between, like a middleman networker. And then now my networking relationship just increased like threefold, right? Because I've brought two people from my network together without me, but being the one who brought them together, I've provided value to them both.
Dude, I have so many relationships because of that. Because I meet like other rappers or some shit, and they're like, oh, like, you know, like, how do you do this, or who does your videos? I'm like, this guy, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and now they know each other. Maybe they work together.
Is it a cat?
We're live. No, I thought somebody tried to open the door. Whatever. If they come in, we'll just be like, come on, we're doing something. I'm just weirded out because Nicole's at work.
So yeah, somebody's trying to rob you right now is what's happening.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying is that's happened to me a lot, you know, because I meet like people who do different styles of music or do this, that, and the other thing, and I don't have any value to bring them, but
Other than other people that you know.
Yeah, but I can point them towards somebody else, and then they're like, oh, thanks, you know, and maybe they follow me on Instagram or something just because I gave them, you know, that connect, and we established like a small friendship, but then now in turn they're seeing what I'm doing. You know, and they know me, and they're like, oh, yeah, you know, Liam told me about this, and, you know, I know him through here, and that's just another person who's now in my circle.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think that a big mistake a lot of people make when they go into networking is they go into it thinking, like, what can I get out of it? Rather than thinking about, what can I bring to other people?
Yeah.
Everybody just cares about themselves. Like,
yeah.
Ultimately, when it comes down to it, people are most interested in what's going on in their life, what their problems are, what they need. So when you come out there into the world talking about what you want and what you need, people don't care. They're like, okay, that's great. Like, what can you give to me? And so if you flip it around and you start focusing on what other people need, what other people want, you focus on trying to understand that and then trying to find ways to provide them that, that's how you're going to develop real powerful connections. That's how you're going to, quote, win friends and influence people. It's a book I'm reading.
Yeah. Dude, and like, it reminds me a lot of, like, the market decides. Like, and the market isn't just, like, you selling a product or anything, but it's everything. The consumers decide. You know? Like, it doesn't matter what, like, I think somebody should give me, or what I think is cool, or, like, if I'm too consumed in, oh, what can other people do for me? The market decides what I need to bring to the table.
Yeah, there's some gap that can be filled by you.
Yeah, that I have something to bring into the world, and that's decided by the consumers and by the market. You know, and if I just go into it and I'm like, oh, I want this, the consumers and the market is going to be like, what the fuck? Like, nobody wants to help you because you're not providing any value into this. Whereas, like, take, like, the music community, for example. If I'm putting good music and music people enjoy into that community, like, now people want to work with me. Now people want to give back. And now we all have an established relationship. If I'm just putting music up and I'm like, go listen to my shit, you know, go stream my music, like, just because you want to help me, that's only going to go so far. Because people need something that they get something out of, too.
Right. Because, like I was saying before, deep down, people really only care about themselves.
Yeah, we're all assholes, yeah.
Like, there was a
I tell my girlfriend that probably too much. I'm like, you know, like, deep down, like, everyone just cares about themselves.
Well, it's important. It's important for our survival that we're selfish. Like, our genes are 100% ours. It's in our best interest from, like, a evolutionary psychology perspective to look out for our own genome more than anybody else's.
Right.
And then that it pans out to, like, your family as well. Like, your sibling has half your genes, and so it's also in your best interest that they succeed so that they can reproduce. And so, like, we have a natural proclivity for looking out more for those who share our genetic makeup, and we share 100% of our genetic makeup, so we're most concerned with ourselves. And that's important for survival. If we weren't, we'd all be dead and we would never reproduce. So it's important that we're primarily concerned with ourselves, what we're doing, and how we're moving forward. And then the best way to actually, which is funny, the best way to move forward and to succeed is to actually start to be more concerned for others and thinking about what they want. Because then you're going to identify opportunities to provide value. And since everybody's concerned with themselves, if you're providing value to them, well, now they find you valuable. Now they need you. They might even form a dependency on you in some ways. You want to be irreplaceable, and when you become irreplaceable to a large group of people by providing tons of value to them, that's how you'll succeed in the tribe. Basically. If you're the guy who brings home the bread, right? If you bring the food, if you're the guy, the hunter in the little village, who goes out and you kill all the animals, you're bringing all the food back to the village, you become very, very valuable in the village because you're bringing the food to everybody.
Yeah.
So that's how you become valuable in the village. That's how you'll get all the women. That's how you'll. that goes back to like our tribal roots, right?
That's how you secure the clout.
That's how you get the clout, right? So that's how you succeed, right?
Yeah.
You ascend the hierarchy of people by providing value. It's a hierarchy of competence. A lot of people look at the world and they see this hierarchy that we have in society, and they're very cynical about it. They think that you get to the top by stepping on other people and by being domineering. That's not sustainable. If you look at hierarchies of chimps, like chimp hierarchies, they're social hierarchies. The chimps that are domineering and dominant and abusive to like the other members of the tribe, eventually two of the other chimps get together and they're like, okay, we've had enough of this dude, and they fucking rip him apart, basically. Yeah. But when a chimp goes to the top of the hierarchy and he takes care of the other chimps, he takes care of the kids, he goes around and he is nice to everybody, he stays at the top for a longer period of time because he's actually providing value to everybody below him.
Right.
So, and that's basically the same case with the hierarchies that we have in our society. Is the ones who stay around the longest are those who are good at providing value to other people, not those who take from other people or step on other people.
Right.
Though unfortunately that is a way to get to the top. It's just not sustainable.
Right. It won't last because you can't stay up there if that's, and this goes back to like the first episode, if that's what people know the message of your company and brand is, they're eventually not going to be involved in it.
Yeah.
Like eventually people are going to be like, this isn't something I want to be a part of, because they see the way that you escalated and the type of person that you are.
All right. All right. So another question here is, how can somebody get started with networking?
Just go fucking meet people. Just like I think like, well, if you're in school, you have no excuses. I mean, like if you're in school, like find clubs and classes full of people that are trying to do the same thing as you. The main thing is you got to figure out where people that are doing what you're doing hang out. If you make anime, you need to go to like whatever that shit's called. It's like anime con.
Anime conventions.
Yeah, like you need to go to anime conventions, because that's where like your business connections are going to be and like where your consumers are going to be. If you make music, go to shows, and not just shows in your genre. That's the other thing about networking. Don't make it too specific, because like we were saying, everyone has value for you. If you make music, go to shows. I've literally met like so many fucking people that like support my music and like it at like hardcore metal shows. Because that's what Getty and Cody go to. So I just used to go and fucking throw down there. And then people are like, oh, are you in a band? I'm like, I'm a rapper. And they're like, what the fuck? And then they check it out and they're like, oh, it's cool. Like, I dig this, And so don't limit yourself, but find out where people like you hang out.
Yeah.
Just find out where they hang out and just go hang out with them.
And it can be, and you talked about this earlier, it could be a physical location. It could also be online.
Yeah, there's groups.
There's all kinds of opportunities to network in this world. You just got to go out and do it.
Yeah, the biggest holdback that anyone has with networking is like the scariness of it. Like the anxiety is like, oh, like, what are people going to think of me? Like, am I going to get turned down? Like, people are too worried about what people are going to think about them, and that deters them from...
I think, honestly, more than anything else, it's the frame of mind that they go into networking with. Like I was talking about earlier, they go into thinking, like how can I get something out of other people?
Right.
And so that's gonna put you on edge, because or it could be like, is nobody gonna want what I have to offer? That might be where scariness comes from, or where anxiety comes in. It's like, I want to bring value to other people, but are they even gonna want what I have to offer?
Right.
I can see how that would be nerve-wracking.
That's kind of what it was for me in the beginning, because I'm like, oh, like, I mean, obviously the value I'm providing is good music, but I'm like, well, what if people don't think it's good? And the thing is like, it's just about, like, quantity. Just meet lots of people. Not everyone, rarely are people going to hate you.
Right.
But not everyone is going to, like what you're doing. Like, I think we talked about it on the last podcast because I had just gotten that message from somebody on Snapchat, and they were like, hey, like, I don't listen to your type of music at all, but, like, I have a lot of respect for what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
And, like, that's a perfect example. Nobody is really going to hate usually, but just go and meet lots of people, and the more you find people who like what you're doing and want to be a part of it, the more specific your group is going to become.
Right. And
eventually you're going to find your crowd where 9 out of 10 people at that show, 9 out of 10 people at that convention are going to like what you're doing. And then you have, like, your target audience.
Yeah. It's gonna take time to find the group of people who truly vibe with you.
Right.
It's just gonna take time, and shouldn't be too preoccupied with what people think of you. I've been sort of telling myself this recently, like, because I've found myself caring too much about how I'm perceived by others or what other people think of me, and I just have to remind myself, like, throughout history, there have been many evil, terrible people who've been praised, and many amazing, great human beings who've been condemned by others. It's like the judgments of other people are inconsistent and sometimes irrational, and so what's truly important is that you're okay with what you're doing yourself, and then since there's so many people in the world, there's going to be a group of people who enjoy that as well, what you're doing. All that's really important is that you find your own acts appropriate and justifiable, and other people are going to align with you. There's some weird people who do weird things, and they have fan bases.
Yeah.
Like, there's an audience for everybody.
Yeah. And like, it's... Fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. It's me today. But, I remember, like, it's the confidence. Like, if you have confidence in what you're doing, at least this has been my experience, I'm less affected by the judgments and opinions of others. Because I know that, like, what I'm doing is correct. Like, I'm not affected by love or hate. Somebody's like, I love your music, you're doing a great job. I'm like, cool. Somebody's like, I hate your music, fuck you, you're a dick. Cool.
Right.
Like, and the goal is to not let either one affect me and just keep pushing through the crowd.
Right, yeah.
This is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do, and it doesn't matter.
Because to you, it's appropriate and justifiable. It's
for me.
For you,
yeah.
And that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get confidence, also passion. Like, I think that I've found that where I've been the most effective at networking is I have, like, a lot of ideas about a lot of things. I come in and I talk about my idea passionately and with confidence, and then I paint a picture, and then I paint this picture, and then I invite other people into the frame. Yeah. I'm like, here is this beautiful thing that I want to make, join me.
Yeah.
And when I align my interest with theirs, and I can show them how this picture I've created or this idea I have could benefit them and other people, then they get excited because they see that I'm passionate about it, that I'm confident in it, and then they want to join. So that's how I think that's how I think I've brought the people in my, like, who are working with me into my life so far.
Yeah, dude, it's the same with fans. Like, I am so fucking confident in what I'm doing that people believe in me. Like, and it's not because, maybe it's because people believe in the content that I make, like, some of it, but most of it is because I believe.
Dude, confidence is everything. I was watching this one, like, video. It was like some clip on the internet or something, and it was this dude who was standing in, like, the middle of this sort of busy, like, train station or bus station or whatever, and he had this white square, and so he was standing at the white square, and, like, people were walking through it, and he was telling people, like, don't walk in my square, don't walk in my square. So the first thing he was doing is he was saying it in, like, a very timid, not very confident, like, kind of high-pitched voice. And he was like, don't walk in my square, like, don't walk in my square. And, like, nobody was listening to him at all. And then some guy was like, I'm walking right through your square. Like, just did not care. And then they did it again in that same train station. But instead of using a timid, sort of, like, high-pitched voice, he spoke with authority and confidence. And nobody walked in his square.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, don't walk in my square. They didn't walk in the square.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have confidence affects us. Like when we see somebody who's confident, like we have a reason to believe that they're confident for a reason. So
Yeah.
so we just sort of trust the confidence. We trust like.
Dude, when I see somebody assertive, I'm like, oh fuck, you know, like it, and I don't question it. If they're truly confident, I don't question it. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's my point. You don't question often other people's confidence, and I mean that can be a bad thing sometimes because they might just be posing, and that's how con artists work. They're literally called confidence men. Con artist stands for confident artist, I think, if I remember correctly. So when people speak with confidence, and when they project assertiveness and authority, we sort of just naturally fall into line.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, unless you're also a hyper assertive, confident person, and then you might try to question them on their bullshit.
Yeah, and I mean that goes back to what we've talked about before, is like the genuineness, and the confidence that like this is who I am. Like I'm not lying or bullshitting you, but I'm incredibly confident about what I'm doing, and that goes so far because it's just an attractive thing. People see that in a person or a company. That's just an attractive fucking quality.
And that's why fake it till you make it kind of works. The only problem with that is if you're faking it, there's you're going to be that constant anxiety of if you're going to be exposed. So if you try to fake confidence, underneath you're going to be anxious about being exposed as not legitimate.
Yeah, and you want to figure out why you can't be confident.
Like actually, like truly.
Yeah, you know, that's like fake it till you make it is good while you figure out why you truly aren't confident, and hopefully like I don't know, go to therapy. It's good for you. You know, like hopefully dig deeper into that emotion and start to understand it more, and then hopefully you can build that like true confidence in your life.
Yeah, like thinking about the difference between appearing a certain way and then becoming that way, and so it's good to work on trying to appear some way, so long as you're also working towards becoming that way.
Yeah.
Because if you're just an appearance, there's a veil, and it's not true, and people are going to see through it eventually.
Yeah.
All right. Last one is how do you network effectively, and I think we basically covered it. It's just about providing value to other people. That's really all it comes down to, is going out there, exposing yourself to others, being confident with what you have to offer, and that's really gonna be like the gateway. Like if you come out networking, even if you have tons of value to provide, if you don't do it with confidence and passion, people are not going to pay attention to you, because we really only pay attention to people who are confident and passionate. That seems to be a natural proclivity that we have.
Yeah. Believe in you.
Right.
If you do not believe in you and what you're doing, then you need to figure out why, or switch and start doing something that you truly believe in. Because if you truly believe in it, two things are going to happen. Other people are going to believe in it, and you're going to fucking make it happen.
Right. And they're going to help you make it happen because they believe in you.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about before when I said, like, I paint a picture, I invite them into the frame, and I let them believe that it's possible. Because I believe it's possible.
Right. Well, yeah, you're not bullshitting them. You're not like, oh, like, how am I going to make these? I'm sure you probably didn't sit there before and consciously think, how am I going to make these people think that this is possible? The thought train was probably like, I believe this is possible. Billy, fucking come listen to me, bro. I got a good idea. Yeah, you know, and that's genuine confidence. Not sitting there thinking about, okay, how can I manipulate people to believe what I'm doing is like correct or like the right thing, you know, like just believe in it.
Yeah, believe in it yourself, and it'll come through.
Yeah.
It'll show, and other people will align with you.
Hell yeah. We got any closing thoughts?
No closing thoughts. I think that we basically covered all of it. Networking and team building are intimately intertwined with each other. You can't team build without networking, you can't team build without networking. And when you network, you are also sort of building a team, because you're building a network, and maybe there might not be like under you as like a team, but you have partners, and you can consider everyone in your network as sort of part of your team, because you're all mutually helping each other get to where you guys want to go.
And networking is the like pathway to get a team.
Right.
Like that's how I see it, you know. It's like the same thing with like branding and marketing. You can't market shit if you don't have a brand.
Right.
And you can't team build if if you don't network.
So I guess my closing thought would be figure out what you have to offer. Identify what your offer is and get really good at giving that offer out and being able to demonstrate that offer with confidence. Find who the audience for that offer is and bring them in. I mean, there's many different offers for different people, but figure out what you can bring to the table. That's the beginning to networking. Is what can you do for other people? What value can you provide for others?
Hell yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Alrighty, I think that's it.
Another good episode.
Yes, sir.
Cheers. See y'all for 4.